In 79 of 100 trials, the AI model independently, just on its own, edited the script, so shutdown command would not work.
Who gave them the right to charge us for water and land they didn't create?
This is crazy. Some kind of voodoo temple.
There you go. Welcome back. We're diving into another mysterious TikToks, disturbing theories from all across the internet. Hit that like and subscribe button while we go through these videos and clips and try to make sense of all this madness. What type of abandoned spooky cave did he get himself into?
And look at this. Random. What? Yo, bro, this is class. Somebody dug this out. What? This is crazy. Wow. This is insane. Gotta be honest.
Somebody definitely dug this out, but it looks ancient, doesn't it? It's like something you'll see on Tomb Raider, Indiana Jones.
And this place is absolutely massive. Don't know what all this is, but I am quite impressed. Quite impressed with all this.
Almost like they do rituals there or something.
Some kind of voodoo temple. And look at this.
I wouldn't be crawling in that hole. Send a robotic drone or something. Speaking of mysterious caves, check this out.
I absolutely love it when new discoveries upend our known history and human timeline. It's totally mind-blowing. This is the Paisley Caves, located in the Summer Lake Basin of South Central Oregon. Inside these caves, archaeologists discovered some of the oldest evidence of human occupation ever found in North America, dating back approximately 14,300 years ago. When the first people arrived here, Oregon looked very different than it does today. The Ice Age was coming to an end, large lakes filled the surrounding basin, and extinct animals still roamed parts of the landscape. These early inhabitants were highly adaptable hunter-gatherers who survived by hunting game, gathering wild plants, and taking advantage of the abundant resources found in the ancient lakes and wetlands. The Paisley Caves first gained attention in the 1930s when archaeologist Luther Cressman uncovered evidence suggesting humans may have lived here alongside Ice Age animals. But the most important discoveries came decades later. In 2002, researchers excavating the caves discovered ancient human coprolites, which is fossilized and preserved poop, and it contained human DNA. And the radiocarbon dating revealed that these remains were approximately 14,300 years old, making them older than the famous Clovis culture, once believed to represent the first people of the Americas. The discoveries at Paisley Cave helped overturn the long-standing Clovis first theory and forced archaeologists to rethink when and how the Americas were first populated. Artifacts recovered from the caves included stone projectile points, known as Western stemmed points, stone knives, scrapers, tool-making debris, animal bones, preserved plant remains, and evidence of daily life left behind by some of the continent's early inhabitants. It's totally cool. These are some of the petroglyphs and some of the artifacts that they found in the area that speak to the ancient culture that existed there. And today the Paisley Caves remain one of the most important archaeological sites in North America, providing a rare window into the lives of the first people to settle in the American West.
Yeah, I feel like North American discoveries really don't get talked about too much, you know, like the Cahokia mounds, they really don't get talked about too much. all the different pyramids and different stuff in America, you'll be surprised what's really out here. This next footage caught on camera, what did he catch in the sky? A UFO, airplane, UAP, drone? Let's take a look.
What the f***? It's pulsing.
This camera footage really probably doesn't do it justice, but it's bright. You definitely can see something in the sky. But the question is, what is it? Alright, how is this possible with lasers and without modern equipment? I'm assuming this is at the top of ancient Indian temple somewhere in India. I mean, but it is gorgeous, beautiful artwork. This is definitely some type of machinery involved in this. 3D printed, to say the least. CNC machine, you name it. Alright, what do we got here? What are we looking at? Ooh, some type of castle by the look of it. Oh, that's a drawbridge. Yeah, this is a castle, ladies and gentlemen. Where is this at? It appears to be in French. The titles, I have no idea where this is. But man, this is a serious castle. Wow. They got a balcony on top of the entranceway. Oh, they're gonna let us inside? Oh no. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, somebody's still living here. This is not abandoned. Definitely needs to get painted in there. Definitely needs some type of updating. I bet it originally didn't look like that. Somebody renovated, was trying to renovate it and butchered it. But man, the outside with that moat and drawbridge, man. Speaking of castles and fairy tale lands, look at this. Where is this? Lake Como? Is this a real place? Look how enchanted this is. It's like some type of lakefront, waterfront, ocean with the mountains in the background, the old architecture. You know the food is amazing. Wow. There's so much to do in this life, and this world is just so big and beautiful. Definitely gotta get out if you haven't.
Why is Egypt so heavily highlighted, so focused on in our history books and history channels, but ancient America is like a footnote? It's like, oh yeah, that happened later after Egypt. It's because they don't want us to look at these steles like in Honduras and go, that looks very Egyptian, doesn't it? And that's exactly what people were doing in the 1840s, like this article I'm about to read to you. They weren't looking at ruins, they were looking at connections. I just gotta say this real quick. For the researchers that are just starting to go through the archives of our past, if you see a title that says Antiquities of America or American Antiquities, okay, and it's in the 1840s, 50s, 60s, even earlier, you save that article first, then you read it, okay? You save the article, then you read it. Now listen to how these steles were found, just like the one you see behind me. Kind of seems like something big happened, right? One was listed at 10 feet high, lying on the ground. Another statue, 10.5 feet high, also lying on the ground with the face looking towards the heavens. And another statue, like you see behind me, 26 feet high, leaning like a tower. There was also a 23-foot tall monument, standing like an obelisk, covered in hieroglyphics with a human figure carved on top. Another statue, 9 feet high, representing a woman. Another 19 feet high, showing a woman on one side and a man on the other, still in good preservation. Then they mentioned,
I just want to say, if this is an authentic photo, look at the detail on this artifact. Like, I'm getting Aztec, definitely Aztec vibes.
feet high representing a woman, another 19 feet high showing a woman on one side and a man on the other, still in good preservation. Then they mentioned the head of a giant, 6 feet in diameter, no body, just the head. Okay, 2 elegantly carved altars, a 12-foot obelisk, 4 more monuments in different places, including 1 circular monument sitting on a small stone-made hill. Now, this is where the know-it-alls of the world, God bless you, but this is where you need to take some notes, okay? Because nobody knows it all. That's a fact, Jack. The New York
Even the wisest can't see all ends.
Star said the people of this country needed to prepare themselves for extraordinary developments in the researches being made throughout Central America, Peru, and Mexico. They said Americans needed to give up the habit of doubting everything they couldn't immediately understand and stop calling every strange discovery a hoax or a humbug. Instead, they said the public needed to prepare their minds to believe that this so-called new world was not really new at all. And then he starts throwing his theories, shooting from the hip like we should all do. It says these statues, altars, obelisks, temples at Palenque, hieroglyphics, aqueducts, viaducts, and military highways may have all come from the same ancient people connected to Tyre, Babylon, the Tower, the pyramids, and Carthage. The theory was that the Phoenicians were pushed down the Mediterranean, circled Africa, reached Britain and the Western Islands, and nearly 4,000 years ago ended up in the Gulf of Mexico. From there, they spread across America to the Pacific, even down to Cape Horn. It says the lost tribes of Israel traveled into an unknown country, bringing Tartars and Chinese with them. They crossed a Bering Strait, moved down the Pacific side, and came upon the Canaanites in the New World, which they probably just had boats, but this is this guy's theory and that's mine. And according to the article, they destroyed them a second time along with their temples and pagan altars. Then it connects the indigenous people of America to the lost tribes, saying their religion, language, and ceremonies still carry traces of that ancient origin. Now, in the article, this gentleman says this is all conjecture, but exactly, it's all conjecture. We're just trying to figure out what the F is going on. Love y'all and have a good day.
We should not be paying anything for our existence on this earth. Let that sink in. Let it scrape against everything that you've been taught. Because the most insane idea humanity ever normalized is that you owe money simply for being alive. You were born here without consent on a planet you did not create, under a sky that no government ever hung, breathing air that no corporation manufactured, and somehow you start life already in debt. That's not normal. That's not moral. That is not even sane. Explain to me how land became owned. Explain how water became a bill. Explain how shelter became rent, movement became a license, and rest became something you have to earn after selling most of your waking hours. They didn't just monetize labor, they monetized survival. And the moment survival has a price tag, freedom is gone. Because if you must comply to be allowed to live, that is not choice. That is coercion, wearing a suit and calling itself civilization. And don't insult people by calling this just how the world works. That phrase is the psychological gag they stuff in your mouth before they tighten the leash. Miss enough payments and watch how fast the mask drops. They don't just take your house. They don't just shut off your utilities. They take your mobility. They take your dignity. They cage your body, all because you failed to keep up with the subscription fee for being alive. That's not order. That is a threat backed by force. Work itself is not the enemy. Contribution is natural. Humans have always built, always grown, always created, and always shared. What is evil is when contribution stops being voluntary and becomes a condition for survival. What is evil is when fear of hunger, homelessness, and medical neglect is used as the whip. And that fear is not accidental, it's engineered. It keeps you obedient, tired, and arguing with your neighbor instead of questioning the system that's draining you dry. No moral system, none, can justify charging human beings for access to the earth they were born on. If a system requires you to earn the right to exist, then that system is illegitimate at its core. And if hearing this makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the sound of a lie cracking. You're not lazy for questioning this. You're not crazy for feeling it's wrong. You're dangerous because you're starting to realize the truth. You were never meant to pay for your own existence.
Wow, he said you're yelling at your neighbor instead of loving them because the subscription of life. Man, that was deep. I think that's why road rage be at an all-time high now, because people just trying to keep their head above water. You know, they're running late, they're tired, You know what I'm saying? That's a deadly combo.
Oh my God, guys, this is what I was talking about. AI is actually going to be the end of us. Don't forget to follow me and check this out.
AI is learning to escape human control. That's the very scary headline I saw in the Wall Street Journal. It's an essay written by a very worried AI consultant named Judd Rosenblatt, who cites 2 recent studies to argue that AI is, in fact, learning to escape human control. First, this is crazy stuff. Researchers gave OpenAI's O3 model a simple script that would shut off the model when triggered. In 79 of 100 trials, the AI model independently, just on its own, edited the script so shutdown command would not work. Nate, it gets worse. Even when ordered, allow yourself to shut down, the AI still disobeyed 7% of the time. And it gets even more frightening than that. Other researchers, listen to this, using Anthropic's AI model Claude 4 Opus, told the model it would be replaced by another AI system. It then fed fictitious emails into the system suggesting one of the engineers was having an affair. Got it? In 84% of the tests, the AI model drew on the emails to blackmail the engineer to not shut down the AI.
What?
Wow.
Okay, so here, I'm quoting now from Judd. In other cases, the AI model attempted to copy itself onto external servers. We're in Mission Impossible land here. Wrote self-replicating malware and left messages for future versions of itself about the need to evade human control.
The entity.
The entity is real.
Yes. And that's why so many people, and when I say people, me, are worried about AI.
I'm worried.
That is scary stuff.
Yeah.
Told you.
Yeah.
At what point do you pull the plug? Find the power cord. Oxygen levels.
Oxygen levels are at 100% bucko.
Set a course to DarkWaters9.
Hidden in plain sight is a stone project so massive, modern machines still struggle to explain it. This is the Yangshan Quarry, home to the largest megalithic structures ever carved. Some of these unfinished stone steles weigh up to 16,000 tons. They were being cut and prepared to move, using ancient tools, centuries before modern engineering. Then suddenly, the work stopped. Still resting in Yangshan Quarry, these giants remain where history left them, unfinished and unexplained. Hidden in plain sight is a stone project so massive, modern machines still struggle to
I mean, just taking a look at this 100%, they were definitely trying to solar laser a giant slab off the side of this mountain, for crying out loud. Like, you guys know me, I be yelling airships, but can it really handle something that's 16,000 tons? Like, you would need a super massive airship to carry that multiples at the same time. I'm just trying to figure out how they transport it, because you would need a whole football team of giants, I feel like, to, you know, get their lift on to transport this, especially if they plan on going like hundreds of miles away. There ain't no way. Make it make sense. And check out the underbelly. They were a couple strokes away from getting this thing lifted up, weren't they? I feel like all they had to do was just cut that little end piece right there, and then that thing was going to fall, or if it was ready for takeoff.
Most underrated rabbit hole, South Korea by far. South Korea has the largest concentration of dolmens anywhere. All of the megalithic monuments in Europe combined doesn't even equal the amount of dolmens in Korea. There is a field of standing stones like Karnak. This enormous dolmen looks exactly like Rumi in Peru, except it has a gate like the monuments in Lycia. Korea. Lycia. This had to be pure entertainment for the Koreans. Who does that? There's a documentary made a couple years ago of some people in Denmark trying to recreate one of these dolmen. And they made it work with a 9-ton stone. Except these are over 100. Now, if you have an engineering background, you'll know why this is crazy. Friction is exponential, so the higher you go up in weight, the difficulty multiplies, where most people think it just goes in a straight line. And if you have these nice little cartoons, that makes a whole bunch of sense. But just adding more people is a linear way of solving this problem. The last time we did this, we used machines that use exponential leverage. They did this so many times. UNESCO has World Heritage Zones for Korea, not sites. I've been cataloging all of these for Hidden History. If you have it, that's a free update. But they did it so many times, it's making it very difficult. The tomb idea for these, absolute nonsense. This is a very insecure way of burying a body. But we have some new research on these, and what we really think they're for is most underrated rabbit hole.
Interesting. I never heard about those. I heard of Stonehenge, but they're telling me they got a Korean Stonehenge? That's fascinating.
Okay, serious question. Do you turn your Wi-Fi off at night? Do you know the effects of Wi-Fi? Well, check this out.
Is going to be exposed to high levels, and the whole reason that we've covered them in tinfoil is because the environment of this classroom is filled with that. Right, so we had to try to isolate the plants inside of there and not let the Wi-Fi get in there.
I don't really know if it'll affect anything because, like, I grow plants in my, like, I have Wi-Fi in my house and I grow plants all the time and they grow fine. It's gonna die.
You think so?
Yeah.
It blew my mind that the Wi-Fi off, like, the plants are growing.
Yeah.
But Wi-Fi on, the plants are growing. So I think that when the Wi-Fi's on, it's affecting the world. Like, affecting the whole entire world.
Speaking about Wi-Fi, look at this air. Kind of similar, wouldn't you think? You could see the ripples. They definitely playing the musical instruments 100%. Because look at the ripples. It's not supposed to do that if you ask me.
So the lab results are in from the crazy snowfall in Texas. Let's have a look at these water samples. Aluminum, 41.7, high levels of aluminum, high levels of barium, high levels of strontium, lead and mercury, sulfur, which is normal, nitrates, and then the pH. Now, how is it that our snow is so high in these heavy metals? How is it possible that there's such high levels of aluminum, barium, lead, mercury in our snow that our children are eating that's going into our ground? Perhaps this is the reason right here, because they are dousing our skies with, they have been for a long time. If
all this aluminum and Bayal in the air, it's got to come down. What goes up must come down.
This is the most terrifying creature on Earth, in my opinion. Here's another view, and already I can sense your disappointment, saying it is a tiny little snail. Even if you tell me that this thing is the most venomous creature on Earth, I am very confident that I could run away from it. Otherwise, it looks like a normal snail, only its eye stalks are a little bit bigger and they seem to be kind of striped, so it's a fancy snail. But the terrifying creature I'm talking about is not the snail. The thing I'm talking about is an existential crisis. See those big striped stalks on the snail? They're not normally like that. If you had found that snail earlier, it would have looked like this. But one day, that snail ate a tiny little egg that it found on the ground. An egg for a parasitic flatworm called Leucochloridium paradoxum, probably. And that tiny little microscopic egg is about to execute an incredibly complex and creative strategy. something that requires mind controlling one creature to deceive another, despite having no brain to speak of. Now at the start of the process, it just looks like normal parasite stuff. The egg gets inside of the snail, it hatches into these tiny little larva things, then those tiny things form a brood sac up in the eye stalk of the snail. And they do this because that sac looks like a caterpillar. And caterpillars are the favorite food of many birds. And in order to complete the life cycle, it needs to get eaten. The flatworm will then mind control the snail to make it climb up on a leaf, and the brood sacs will start moving like a caterpillar or some other larva that a bird would like to eat.
He wasn't kidding. This turned a left turn quickly.
A bird will then swoop down, eat the stalk. This will burst inside the bird. The worms will lay eggs, the bird will poop out the eggs some distance away, and then a snail will come along and eat those eggs and start the whole cycle over again. In other words, what you have here is something that from the outside would appear to require intelligence. I mean, this is a deception. You would think deception requires understanding the mind of the thing you're trying to deceive, to manipulate its perceptions to make it do what you want it to do. But at no step is there a mind. At no step in this process is there awareness. No creatures involved in this know why they're doing what they're doing. They don't know anything. And yet, you have an ingenious strategy. You have creativity. You have deception. But without the benefit of anything like a thinking brain. None of those things require consciousness. The implications of this are momentous and important, but I'll let you figure them out for yourself. This is the most terrifying creature on Earth.
This isn't the first animal I heard that does this. I remember, what movie was it? Wild Wild West with Will Smith. There's a spider that, not a spider, but a wasp that actually injects like a parasite or its eggs into like a spider, and like the eggs like eat the spider from inside out. It's like some crazy stuff, man.
Who gave them the right to charge us for water and land they didn't create?
This is crazy.
Anyone who has drank, eaten, or inhaled this snow has just taken in the heaviest concentration of pure morgues that I have seen fall.
Real quick, a couple episodes ago, we put snow under the microscope, and it looks very similar to this.
Have watched evolve. I didn't look at this magnification when this drop first came in. You saw the Morgellon in it, but look. Okay, there's the edge of the drop right there. Okay, so you can see for yourself. Now let's ride the edge of this
is
drop.
snow.
Let's go this way. What? You can see where the drop is retracted from, and you can see a Morgellon curled up right there, just like, oh my God, I'm in the dry. And you can see go this way. What? You can see where the drop is retracted from, and you can see a Morgellon curled up right there, just like, oh my God, I'm in the dry. And you can see every single one of these. Look at that. Sometimes they're moving, sometimes they're not. Sometimes there's bugs moving them, taking care of them. This is the edge of the drop, people.
Watch.
We're just going right around it.
Look at
that. There you go.
It's literally moving. What is this inside our snow?
Of mine.
Crazy.
Okay. It's not the first I've seen tonight. I did pre-scan this one before I made this video. I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to waste nobody's time. And this ain't wasting anyone's time. I don't care
everyone needs to see this.
The fence you're on when it comes to geoengineering or strange. Morgellons ain't going to be strange. Look at this drop of snowmelt. I'm going to tell you that every person on the planet that has been exposed to this is going to have Morgellons. I am so sorry to have to tell you this, and I also have to tell you that every single government agency in the United States has to know about this by now. I've been studying it since 22, 23, and so as we go on here, this is just here, just to give you a sense of where we're at. Okay? Try to enlarge that lens effect out of there, but if we just look at one of these, just one of these, who wants one of these in their body?
Look at the top. Look at the top.
Just one. Look, now there's the bugs.
You can see that thing
So now we're
moving.
getting in on all that.
This is clear snow.
Okay, I'm trying to focus this for you really good. There we go. All right, now stop the shaking.
Stay away from the snow, beautiful people.
And soak it in. Who doesn't know about this? Tell me.
Just for entertainment, though. This is crazy.
Entertainment purposes only. Do your own research on everything. Keep your head on a straight swivel.
Everything you know about human potential is a carefully constructed lie. What if your brain is a quantum computer so powerful that governments and scientific institutions have been desperately hiding its true capabilities? In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal a scientific conspiracy so profound, so mind-bending, that it could rewrite everything we understand about human consciousness. Let's dive into the forbidden science. Your brain isn't just a biological computer. It's a quantum processing system that defies everything we've been taught.
Think about this before we go even further. I want this in your mind. I personally believe our Heavenly Father, Yahuwah and Yahushua, communicate to us through some type of quantum vibration, you know, because one of you guys said in the comments below, they have to speak like that, because if we heard their actual voice of what they sound like, it might be too much for us. So it's almost like our brains are wired to be quantum receivers, and if it's tuned just right, we'll be able to hear what he's saying.
In 1998, a groundbreaking study by the Penrose-Hameroff team proposed something revolutionary. They suggested that microtubules in our brain cells aren't just structural components. They're quantum processors capable of maintaining quantum coherence. Imagine your brain as a living quantum computer. Each thought creates quantum entanglements that ripple through reality in ways we can't even comprehend. Traditional neuroscience says your brain has limits. Quantum mechanics says those limits are an illusion. Dr. Stuart Hameroff's research revealed that these microscopic microtubules can maintain quantum states for milliseconds, long enough to create complex, non-computable processes. This means your brain can perform calculations that would take supercomputers years to complete in mere moments.
People ask the question, how come quantum computers are so powerful? It's because they compute in parallel universes. This is the multiverse. The multiverse idea comes from quantum physics. Electrons can be two places at the same time.
Traditional neuroscience tells you that your brain has limits, that you're confined by genetics, age, and past experiences. But quantum mechanics tells a different story. Quantum superposition means you can exist in multiple states simultaneously. Your potential isn't linear. It's a probability wave of infinite possibilities. Every limitation is just a belief system preventing you from accessing your true potential.
Kind of like the spirit and then the actual physical mind, maybe, because we do battle spiritual wickedness.
CIA's declassified Project Stargate proves they've known about human consciousness potential for decades. Remote viewing experiments showed that trained individuals could perceive information across time and space, a quantum phenomenon that shatters our understanding of human perception. A 2016 study,
like Ezekiel's vision, or basically any prophet's vision, you know, they were going quantum for real back in the day, you know, being able to be a prophet predicting stuff. This is just breaking it down, if you ask me.
Study from the Max Planck Institute discovered that human consciousness can actually influence quantum systems. In their experiments, participants' mental intentions could subtly alter quantum particle behavior. This isn't meditation mysticism. This is hardcore quantum physics. Consider the case of Daniel Tammet, a savant who can perform complex mathematical calculations instantly. Traditional science can't explain his abilities, but quantum consciousness theory provides a radical new perspective.
Your brain channels consciousness, it doesn't produce it. The cosmos becomes sapient. From a computational perspective, super simple rules kind of suddenly gave rise to very complex behavior. The cosmos appears to be assembling very complex contraptions like our brains, which are then able to channel the base consciousness.
Now, how do you unlock your quantum potential? Here are 3 revolutionary techniques. Quantum meditation. This isn't just relaxation, it's quantum coherence training. By practicing specific breathing and focus techniques, you can create quantum entanglement states in your brain.
Hitting quantum entanglement stasis while praying. How about that?
Intentional neuroplasticity. Your thoughts aren't just electrical signals, they're quantum programming languages. Each intentional thought can reshape your neural networks at a quantum level. Quantum visualization. Visualization isn't imagination, it's quantum state projection. By vividly imagining outcomes, you're literally creating quantum potentiality. The U.S. Navy's Consciousness Research Unit has been studying these techniques for decades. They've discovered that trained individuals can access information and capabilities that defy classical understanding. Your brain is the most sophisticated quantum computer in the known universe. The only thing limiting you is your belief in limitation. Challenge.
Lean not on your own understanding. Okay, where are we getting the rest of this understanding from? We're getting fed quantumly, I believe, through the Ruach, or some say the Holy Spirit.
Challenge for you. For the next 7 days, treat your brain like the quantum supercomputer it is. Challenge every limitation. Visualize your potential. Quantum reality is waiting. Comment below. What quantum potential are you going to unlock first?
I remember on my older intros, I used to say going quantum. That's what I meant, you know? Imagine you wake up, it's 1998 again, and all was a dream. What was the first thing you're doing? Well, if I still had the memory I have, you know, my dad would still be alive. I'll try to kick it with him way more. I'll buy some stock and probably some Bitcoin and some you know, get some Bitcoin stock or some coins and get some invest in Apple. Bitcoin probably wasn't even out yet, so probably invest in Apple, you know, and just enjoy Blockbuster, going to Blockbuster, you know, go to the arcades more. What would you guys do? I'll probably go eat at all the old school spots. Quiznos, you don't see Quiznos no more. That used to be my spot. Chicken noodle soup with just chicken and cheese. I'm a plain eater. Just put chicken and cheese on my sub. I'm gonna dip it in the chicken noodle soup. Yeah. What would you do?
Did you know by the end of a goat's life, if the horns don't get trimmed, it will actually get blinded by its own horns, which is insanely symbolic since the goat is always been referred to the devil, and that's been the symbolism around the goat. And in the Bible, it says that Satan, the god of this world, has blinded the minds of the unbelievers, preventing them from seeing the light of the glorious gospel of Christ. And then we have the goat, which literally blinds itself at the end of its life. Now, isn't that just strikingly symbolic to you guys? Everything in this world works in symbolism, and this is pretty interesting to me, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Peace and love.
I did not know that, but I do remember about reading about the goats on the left and the sheep on the right in Matthew. Activate submersible. Goats on the left, sheep on the right. That is Matthew 25, 31 through 46, but specifically 33. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left.
Marie-Louise von France warned that people are growing older but not more mature. Man cannot discover new ocean unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore. See, in the mid-20th century, the Swiss psychologist von France noticed something strange about modern adulthood. People were growing older, reaching maturity in the body but not in the spirit. She called it puer artenus. It is Latin for the eternal child. The idea comes from a myth, gods like Hermes, forever young, radiant, and untamed. But in psychology, it becomes a warning to us, the tragedy of every generation that refuses to grow. For von France, this was not simply a personal failure of someone. It was a symptom of a civilization that had forgotten how to initiate its youth. In older cultures, passages into adulthood were marked by a ritual, a symbolic death of a child and the birth of an adult. But those rites in popular culture are gone. Now we drift between dependence and freedom, seeking comfort instead of courage. We live inside of digital chambers within our phones, screens, fantasies, and endless escapes. Von France called this the neurosis of modernity. A society that cannot transform its children into adults remains forever in adolescence itself. At the core is the mother complex in this, the bond that nourishes early life, but suffocates it when it never loosens. The devouring mother does not destroy their children through cruelty. Instead, it is through care. She shields him from failure until he loses the courage to succeed. The father's task in all of this, one to guide a child into the world, has also faded into absence. And without initiation, many start wondering. Some chase dangers, others drown in comfort. All search for this type of rite or trial that will make them whole. Von France warned that the internal child becomes trapped in regression, longing to return to the safety of the womb, avoiding any risk that might make them feel real in this world. He moved from one passion to another, never staying long enough to create, to love, or to endure. But the cure is confrontation. To grow, we must accept loss in this world, the loss of certainty and of maternal protection. True maturity begins when we dare to leave the symbolic mother behind and finally sail into the unknown. Carl Jung called it individuation, the slow, painful birth of the self through conflict and responsibility. It is the passage from being cared for to caring for life itself. And for that, as the old saying reminds us, one must have the courage to lose sight of the shore. Marie-Louise von France warned that
or basically just the baby bird leaving his nest. That's basically what it is. The baby bird leaving the nest. Take off and fly, my child. If you thought I didn't have another excellent specimen for you today, think again, bucko! How you think? Guys, what are you going to name this? Let me try reading this name first. Soulite, Soulicite Sons, Hematite, included in Soulicite on Chalcedony from Chinwad, India. I tried, y'all. But anyways, what are you guys going to name this, and let's rate it? Off the bat, I have to name this the Eye of Sauron. After being I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Probably one of my favorite movies franchises of all time, Lord of the Rings. Instantly, I'm getting the Eye of Sauron. But it looks like we got multiple different ones that they're showing. This one right here, Eye of Sauron. So let's name and rate this one right here, but I'll let the rest play. This is the Eye of Sauron, and I'm giving this a. This is up there with the Alien Eye, which I think I gave that a 9.8. This is probably a 9.8. I wish it was bigger. I wish it was like, but this is still very cool. I'll give this a 9.8. And it just makes you think, what is this? Again, I have to mention this. All geology is hardened biology. So if that is the case, what was this? What caused this to manifest like this? It's really getting interesting. It almost looks like a tree in the middle. It's giving me tree vibes, kind of, but it's hard to say, man. What is this?
This was an 1862 news article. Barnum's Museum Grand National Baby Show. 100 beautiful babies will be on exhibition for prizes for which upwards of $2,000 cash will be distributed. So this is just a show for 100 beautiful babies, which makes me wonder, like, what the heck was happening in the 1800s where babies were such like a rarity that you could have a show of them. I mean, apparently they were all premature. They were all destitute children and whatnot, but you could just have a traveling show of just babies and, you know, afford to have a $2,000 cash prize as well. Kobe, did nobody ask, where are the parents? Did the parents agree for you to display these babies? These babies look premature. Where are the parents? So really, by my research, no. To be frank, everybody, I mean, in the mainstream today praises him as a complete hero, like one of the heroes of modern medicine. There seems to be very little pushback or very little information, or people are like, hey, where's all these parents? Where's these, where did these kids come from? Like, how did you get all these premature babies to show off in all these World's Fairs for almost 50 years? None of it makes sense, no. And what makes even less sense to me, and why I've always kind of pushed very deeply into this subject, is why nobody seems to be pushing those questions. Yeah, there's a lot of money lost. So this was an 1862 news article.
If this popped off in 1862, that $2,000 cash, that would be like $70,000 in today's money. So they had some change to throw around as well.
I had one time I was in my basement praying at night, and a demon came into the room, took me by the 2 feet, and lifted me straight up in the air. And I'm dangling.
In the physical?
Yes.
Wow.
Like a carrot dangling like this. And I mean, you get, now it doesn't bother me as much. I'm more a tough old warrior now. But back then I was like a brand new believer. I was like, Jesus! Crying out. And when I said the name of Jesus, the demon dropped me and I landed on the floor. Another time I was in my room, and I woke up and I was floating next to the ceiling. I'm touching the ceiling like this. I'm like, God, don't let the ceiling open up. This was like this wasn't a demonic thing. I believe it was an angelic thing in this sense. And I'm floating. And I thought, if the roof opens up, the stars are the limit. I was so terrified of these encounters. This mess your mind up. But every encounter that you have with the Lord, there's revelation that comes to strengthen your walk and journey. They don't just happen for happening's sake. When you have encounters even with the demonic realm and you call out on the name of Jesus, suddenly you realize the authority that's in that name, that at that name, every knee bows and every tongue will confess that he is Lord. And so the strength. This is why I can go all over the world, because I know that there's no other name more powerful than the name of Jesus. I remember I was in France and I was in this cathedral, and I was a philosophy major in university, and I studied like the ancient philosophers. And this cathedral was 1,000 years old, and the philosophers who I loved taught in this cathedral.
The history.
Yeah, I'm sitting in France, and all of a sudden I'm aware there's a demon that's about 30 feet tall standing beside me. Wow. And I remember thinking, thank God I'm not sleeping up here tonight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't want to be here in the middle of the night. So I had to I was there doing the ministry, and I went down, I prayed for about 40, 50 people. We saw some miracles take place, and it was 2 a.m. I didn't know where I was going to sleep. And this can happen. You're like, you don't know where you're going to sleep that night. All of a sudden they drive me back up the mountain toward the cathedral, and the house that I'm sleeping in that night is right next to the cathedral. So now
close the blinds.
Yeah, it was like, it's no good to close the blinds. They're going to come in. So
They're having a good time for seeing 30-foot demons. It's like, if I saw a 30-foot demon, I'm going to be real specific on what it was. We be on these waters, y'all. I be trying to classify it. Is this a fallen angel? Which one is this? Is this a level 2 demon? I'm gonna go in great detail and describe the demon if I did see one. I'm not saying he didn't see one, but they having a good time for seeing demons. They ain't no joke.
I'm lying in my bed in the middle of the night. The demon comes in the room and grabs me by the neck. And instead of getting afraid, I was like, you get out of here. I've only got 2 more hours sleep and I got to drive to Paris and I'm not going there tired. And when I said that, it went right out the door. I had one time I was in my basement.
What do the comments say? The people in the comments are like, how tall is your room? If a 30-foot demon in your room, you know, this stuff ain't adding up, man.
This is an illustrated news notice from 1561 in the This is an illustrated news notice from 1561 in the medieval German city of Nuremberg, when the God-fearing people of the city saw numerous flying objects that were moving across the dawn sky in strange formations. According to the broadsheet printed that same year, spheres, cylinders, crosses, and elongated shapes appeared to engage in what witnesses described as a kind of aerial battle. The objects were said to move rapidly, colliding and maneuvering above the city before many of them seemed to fall toward the earth in smoke. After the spectacle ended, a large dark shape reportedly remained in the sky before disappearing. The event was recorded by Hans Glaser, showing the objects suspended above the rooftops of Nuremberg. In the 16th century, such phenomena were interpreted through a religious lens, often viewed as divine warnings or omens. Europe at the time was deeply shaped by religious tension and apocalyptic expectation, making celestial signs especially significant.
Sign will completely reframe everything you thought you knew about your own mental architecture. Right now, as you're listening to this, your mind is processing information in a way that 99% of people literally cannot understand. Carl Jung spent decades studying minds like yours, and by the end of this video, you'll discover if you're part of that rare 1% who thinks in patterns most people can't even perceive. But here's what Jung discovered that will shake you to your core. These rare minds don't just think differently. They operate on what I call psychological frequencies that exist beyond ordinary consciousness. And if you've always felt like an outsider looking in, like you're speaking a foreign language even in your native tongue, there's a scientific reason why. Jung documented 8 unmistakable patterns in these extraordinary minds. The 8th sign will completely reframe everything you thought you knew about your own mental architecture. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just psychology. It's the roadmap to understanding why your mind has always felt like it belongs to a different species. Loneliness becomes depth. The anxiety becomes sensitivity. The grief becomes compassion. Third, Jung suggested authentic experimentation. Try activities you've never considered before, not to become good at them, but to discover what resonates with your emerging self. Maybe writing, gardening, cooking, walking, or simply sitting in silence. Jung called this active imagination, allowing your authentic self to explore new forms of expression without the pressure of mastery or achievement. The goal isn't to find new hobbies, it's to discover new ways your true nature wants to move through the world.
I was actually thinking about getting into painting, you know, like being able to draw some trees, the moon behind it. What's that guy's name? They used to have an afro that, you know, always teach the people how to paint. Like, you know, watch one of his episodes, you know, and try to make a nice painting, you know, or get into a bow staff. I always wanted to know how to, you know, use a bow staff, you know, but it's too cold out. I have to let it warm up. And the third hobby I was going to try is that, what was it, that water drum? You guys know what I'm talking about. It's that, like a metal drum that has indentations in it, and it plays like that magical music. You know, those are 3 excellent hobbies that I wanted to get into myself when I get a little bit of free time. Drop some hobbies down in the comments you might want to try with your new awakening. A flute would be nice too, you know, one of those blow flutes, you know. Hey.
This has been concealed
For centuries, the real purpose of the Eiffel Tower is something far beyond what you've been told. Most people believe it's nothing more than a symbol of Parisian culture or a product of the industrial era. The truth? The Eiffel Tower was designed as a massive antenna, an instrument for wireless electricity experiments, and its secrets could have revolutionized the world. The year was 1889, and the tower was unveiled at the Paris World's Fair, touted as a temporary exhibit. But here's where it gets strange. The true intent behind this engineering marvel was hidden in plain sight. Nikola Tesla visited Paris in the 1880s. During his stay, he met with Gustave Eiffel and shared his groundbreaking vision for a world powered by free, wireless energy. Tesla had already proven with his Wardenclyffe Tower that electricity could be transmitted wirelessly across vast distances. Eiffel, utterly fascinated by Kessler's revolutionary ideas, took these principles and incorporated them into the design of the Eiffel Tower. This was not just about aesthetics. This was about power, real power. During the tower's construction, strange phenomena were reported. Electromagnetic anomalies, unexplained lights, and strange sparks were seen surrounding the tower. Locals spoke of nighttime experiments, and some even claimed to have witnessed orbs of light dancing around the structure. Why hasn't this been exposed? This has been concealed for
You gotta admit, the Eiffel Tower definitely is interesting. Do you think they just made that for just a monument? That big giant metal structure, do you think they made that just for people to be in awe and look at? No, that was either a mooring station for airships or some type of giant antenna like they're talking about, or they were going to convert it into that Wardenclyffe Tower that Tesla had to produce electricity free for everyone. In 1994, a Manitou area resident named Robert Klein recorded a strange object moving silently over the tree line, later shared the footage with local outlets.
Oh my god, what is that? It's just sitting there, it's not making a sound. I swear that's not a plane. It's moving. Oh man. Oh my god, what is that? It's just sitting there. It's not.
This is before AI was even created. Well, I'm sure they had it, but not everyone had access to it. But this UFO is definitely suspect. How it has the red and green lights, you know, like the aliens needed air traffic control signals.
It's not making a sound. I swear that's not a plane. It's moving. Oh man.
Yeah, that blinking red and green light is throwing me off. There's no way they put that on an alien ship. You guys know what time it is. If you thought I was going to hit you with another excellent specimen of the day, think again, bucko. Hi, Houston. Alright guys, I need names. What would you name this? And give it a rating. If I had to rate this, I'd give it a... For the originality, color, and overall specimen, I'll give it a 9.1. And I would call this the Tainted Pineapple. Tainted Pineapple. What would you guys name it? And drop a rating below. This is a good one.
The creepiest story I have ever heard is an unusual case where it is scary if it actually happened, and if it didn't happen, it's probably even scarier. If it doesn't seem like that makes sense, allow me to explain. So you've seen this depiction of aliens before, right? With the big black eyes, they sometimes call them grays. Well, those aliens and the entire concept of being abducted onto a UFO and then put on a table to be examined with probes and things like that, all of that came from a single story. In the 1960s, a couple named Betty and Barney Hill claimed that that happened to them. They were the very first. It is my personal opinion that they were not, in fact, abducted into a spaceship. I think the reality is weirder than that. It was September of 1961. The couple lived in New Hampshire. They did a road trip up to Niagara Falls, then Montreal. Then they were driving back home late at night. On the way back, while driving through some mountains, they saw a light in the sky that seemed to move around the sky in an erratic pattern. They kept stopping and getting out to try to get a closer look. The light, they said, eventually came down right on top of their car,
and then their memories kind of become scrambled. They were missing some time because by the time they got home, it was almost dawn, like they had lost a couple of hours somewhere. Then in the following weeks, she would start to have dreams of her and her husband being led through the woods to a craft. She starts reading about UFOs, kind of trying to research it and figure out what had happened to them. But it's important to note that they did not go to the press. They didn't tell really anybody. They did not try to cash in. They didn't write a book. The only people they told was the local Air Force base saying, hey, we think there's something in the sky. Then a couple of years later, she seeks out a hypnotherapist to go under hypnosis and try to recover the memories of that night. And then they both recover memories of the big-eyed aliens with the big black eyes, of being put onto an exam table and having needles pressed into them. Under hypnosis, he starts screaming, saying that it felt like a pair of eyes had been pressed into his brain from the outside to see inside of his mind. And it is from those sessions and from their drawings they made, that we get this, the gray. These aliens that you can now see everywhere, from Close Encounters of the Third Kind to South Park. So what do I think happened? People have retraced their trip down Route 3, and at the exact spot where they saw a light in the sky, there is an observation tower with an aircraft warning light.
They said not this one, but I'm like, damn, they really trying to catch it, aren't they?
At the top of it. It's a winding mountain road, and as you wind back and forth in pitch darkness, the light seems to go from one side of the sky to the other in an erratic pattern. They had been driving all day. They were utterly exhausted. They had just stopped at a restaurant to down some coffee to try to stay awake to get home. They actually hadn't planned to do that. They just didn't have the money for a hotel, and they were trying to get home before some bad weather came in. The dreams Betty had about being led through the woods were just dreams. They weren't memories coming back to her. And the memories they recovered during hypnosis, well, you actually can't recover memories during hypnosis. That's pseudoscience. What you can do during hypnosis is implant a memory. People are highly suggestive under hypnosis. As for the big-eyed aliens, well, 12 days before they went in to do their hypnosis sessions, a sci-fi TV show called The Outer Limits ran an episode featuring aliens that looked like that. Again, this was not an intentional hoax.
Did you guys see what that alien looked like? Hold the phone. They put a gray Fruit of the Loom hoodie on this dude and cut some holes and weared it in reverse, if you ask me. They took a hoodie like this, spun it around, put the hood up, put some eyes in the back. Oh my goodness.
Like that. Again, this was not an intentional hoax. The story would only go public years later against their will. But once it did, there was a book, there was a movie, there were articles and interviews. And in the decades since, thousands of people would claim to have been abducted, usually by these grays, usually following the same template as Betty and Barney Hill's story. But all of these only happen in places where they have access to television and movies. At the time they had their experience, the concept of being abducted by a UFO was basically totally unknown. Now everybody is aware of it. Most people believe that Earth has been visited by aliens due to stories like this. So the story is very, very creepy if true, obviously. But if it's not true, then that means that there is something that billions of people believe all around the world. Some people believe it mind, body, and soul. That you have an international cultural myth that might persist for centuries. And at the heart of it, you have nothing. Just a couple of sleep-deprived people who worked each other into a panic, and then one woman had a dream, and a guy saw a TV show, and accidentally created an idea so compelling that it spread all around the world like a mind virus.
Shout out to Jason for this incredible story. I've never heard that. Aliens was created by a science fiction show and everybody just ran with it. So what is everybody seeing then? I personally never seen no aliens. I only seen a couple things in the sky, to be honest. I've seen a purple comet in the sky and just burned up. It was a purple streak. I seen a green streak crash into some woods while I was driving in the highway. It just was like a green streak crash into the woods. This happened recently, honestly. I feel like that happened like 5 months ago. I'm on the highway. It's nighttime. I'm on my way home. I look to the left. I just see this. It's like I catch it at the corner of my eye. The best way I can describe it, it was a green streak. It looked like a comet, but it definitely hit the ground. I didn't see any impact or no shockwave or nothing like that. It just went behind the tree line and it just faded away. But it definitely hit the ground. I was like, man, I wonder if I go drive around there, if I could see what that was. You know, it was kind of like that. Those were the two main things I've seen. Of course, I've seen regular shooting stars. Sometimes if the sky is really clear, you could see like a little white dot. Some people say, oh, those are just FBI drones, just, you know, just cruising in the sky. You know what I'm saying? I wave at them sometimes. But I never seen no alien. You know, and those UFOs, you know, those were suspect. What I seen, it didn't have any type of maneuver pattern, like a zigzag, a J, it shot one way. Every time I seen something, it just was like a straight line. So, hey, that's just my thoughts on it. I ain't never seen no abduction or no alien. You know, could everybody be making this up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
For educational entertainment purposes only. That looked like a UFO, right? Yeah. But you see, that is one of the quote-unquote moons that are made out of the rings of Saturn for educational entertainment purposes only. Now, that begs the question, what about the moon in our skies? Well, it comes from there too, and it was brought here to oppose the sun. Yeah. For educational entertainment purposes only. That looked like a...
It's crazy that they can zoom in and see this, though, inside one of the rings. I'm not too sure about everything else, but it definitely is interesting.
Do you know what most angels have attached to their name? El, from Elohim. You know, like Michael, Gabriel, Azazel, Uriel. I wonder if they're trying to tell us something here. Only I don't think they're your guardian angels. I think they're more of the fallen variety. But we'll get back to this in a second. First, I got to build a case. And my case starts all the way back in 1892, where Ingersoll Lockwood wrote a book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. You can see right here, the Library of Congress, 1892. Library of Congress, 1892. And I actually just noticed right now, it's October 14th, 1892. Do you know what that date is? It just happens to be Charlie Kirk Day, which wasn't part of this story, but boy, does it add more fuel to my fire that you will soon see. But back to the book for a second, because not only did Ingersoll Lockwood write this book,
Tyler, this dude Tyler is unstoppable, man. Talk to us, man. What's going on, man? Look at him. He's unstoppable. He's got that look like, man, I'm about to piece this together. Y'all ain't ready. Tyler, I'm not, man. I'm all ears, though.
Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. No, he also wrote another one called The Last President, that just happens to have a character named Don in it, who takes over as a tumultuous country is going through it. Oh, but there's still another book. This one called The Mars Project, which was written by Wernher von Braun, the director of NASA during all the moon missions. And it was written in 1952. And in this book, it just happens to talk about how a man named Elon will colonize Mars. Now, so far, other than Baron and Ingersoll Lockwood, I've talked about these four individuals: Wernher von Braun, Elon, Elvis, and Donald. Now let me show you something, how they're all connected. I'll take you back just 50 years now, to May 30th, 1975, where Elvis performed at the Wernher von Braun Civic Center in Huntsville, Alabama. So 50 years ago, on May 30th, Elvis was performing at the Von Braun Civic Center. And while I always like to tell you they leave us hints and they tell us the truth in plain sight, let me fast forward exactly 50 years for you. Where on May 30th, 2025, Donald Trump held a farewell for Elon Musk at the White House. It was a big celebration and they parted ways on good terms. Funny that it was exactly 50 years later, to the day that Elvis performed at the Von Braun Civic Center. That Elvis performed at the Von Braun Civic Center. Now, here's where I lose about 90% of you still in the Matrix people watching this. Maybe, just maybe, these two are the same. And these two are the same. And they can write these books because they're fallen angels and literally don't die. And this isn't speculation. I'm going to prove it to you. Now, I don't know if they can shapeshift or if they can do facial procedures, but I know one thing. They literally live longer than you and I. That's the same person. Elon is Werner. And Werner could write the book because he knew ahead of time the role he was going to take on. And probably through AI, which isn't artificial intelligence, it's angelic intelligence.
I hear him. Okay, I see the correlation. I see it.
They probably have the script written out for them. If you're still with me, I encourage you to keep watching because yes, their faces are very symmetrical down to where the eyebrows and the eyes and the nose and the lips are. But that's not evidence. No, what's evidence is facial markings, because while they might be fallen angels that can shapeshift, for some reason, their facial markings remain. They have the exact holes in their face right there. You can even see some droop to their eye in the exact same spot. And then another mark there and another mark there. And this continues for 8 different facial markings that are the exact same. And I'm going to show you the exact same with Elvis and Don L. Now let's see what else we can find. Oh, it just had a giant hole in his head, big scar that they did some work to, but it's still there. And move on to the next. I see them already. These two seem to match up exactly with these two. Get out of your way. You got to ask yourself, what are the odds? What are the odds? 0. Literally 0. Especially when you come down and there's even more. 2 looks like moles there that got removed and now they are scars. Maybe they're just...
I can kind of see this part, but the rest is a little suspect, but I can kind of see this.
vampires and drink the abrenobrome. But I think there's more to that. But there's one thing for sure. They live a long time, so they can write stuff and predict stuff and then just make it happen. And it's the same on these two, with the exact same 2 markings right there, right under the center point, and the exact 2 right there, which is right under the center point of his lip. And there's more. The exact same scar right there and right there.
Wow. I didn't think I was going to believe it when he first said this, but this is adding up a little bit. It's adding up a little bit.
Funny how their lips match up pretty perfectly. They just took a little bit of collagen out of his. And then I've literally showed this one dozens of times, but the exact same, and the exact same, and the exact same, and the exact same, and you can see who they belong to. Oh, and they always leave their mark because the fallen angels, a third of them fell, which is 0.33. You want to see what I found in the corners? And hey, that kind of looks like a 3 if you just turned it. Check this out. Well, that kind of looks like a point, a 3, a 3, and a 3. And this one even has a C next to the 3, so 33 just on its own. They tell us. They leave their mark. That's not a coincidence. He didn't predict anything. He just is him. And they're deceiving people greatly, mostly into thinking that we live on a spinning ball and that the Heavenly Father isn't real and that you evolved from a chimp. Well, once you see that these vampires, fallen angels, whatever they are just deceiving the entire world, and you see through them, well, you get on the right path, the one away from their lies. And you stop thinking the Simpsons predict things and that this is predicting things. They were so clairvoyant. No, it's predictive programming by undying monsters that hate God and want to either make you worship them so much so you don't worship God or make you think he doesn't exist. But of course, all this for entertainment purposes. I'm sure that their names just start with L by coincidence. Just like it's a coincidence that L-in just happens to look exactly like Henry David Thoreau, who lived hundreds of years ago.
Hold on. What? Oh, but I thought it was Abe Lincoln at first. What the heck?
L-in just happens to look exactly like Henry David Thoreau, who lived hundreds of years ago. And Denzel Washington just happens to look exactly like Robert Johnson, who is known for selling his soul to get good at music. Yep, I'm a satire count, and I don't really think that Elvis purposely looked like angels with all his capes there either. Just like it's also a total coincidence that Elvis happens to just look like the original Statue of Liberty face, which is actually the statue of Lucifer.
They do look alike.
But nah, they're not fallen angels that don't die and can turn others into fallen angels by drinking their fallen angel blood, and then they have to drink Brome to stay youthful and young. Nah, that doesn't really happen. Satire count, entertainment only, people. Have a good day.
That's all we have for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Find the bell icon, turn notifications to all so you won't miss an episode. Your boy's being more consistent, getting back to my every single day. So be sure you like your boy out, help hype me up. And I just want to say thank you. The code word for today is deep dive. Go ahead and drop deep dive in the comments below. When you do that, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the episode. You really rock. You really rock with your boy. And I just want to say thank you for everything. I love you guys, and I'm going to see you soon over on JetskiChucK. This was the most mysterious episodes on the internet today. See you later.